physicist who specializes in the science of creation, and she's the mother of a race of good aliens here on Earth called Pleiadians. She says she knows exactly what happened with that missile, and she joins me now from Roseville, California. Colleen, thanks so much for joining me. First of all, tell me what you know about what happened with that supposed missile.
It was I got in my ear, as it were, as I was sleeping, that it was a missile fire, President Obama trying to start a war with Iran. The Pleiadians downed the missile harmlessly at sea, and then last night from San Diego, our government fired another ICBM at the Pleiadians this time. But the Pleiadians ships are able to change density and do all kinds of things that these guys on this planet have never imagined. And a rocket could pass right through them and not harm them. And plus, they can outrun it too if they wanted to just get out of the way. But it's really kind of silly to think that we can take on a race that's been around for many, many, many millions of eons longer than the reptilians.
And really briefly, Colleen, some people might not know exactly who the Pleiadians were. So why would President Obama want to fire an ICBM at the Pleiadians?
Because they're here to rescue the human beings who are being enslaved on this planet and forced into a paradigm of a super oligarchy that favors the Bilderberg Group and the Illuminati and is completely and utterly without any conscience towards the human beings whatsoever. They poison us deliberately in order for us to have to buy pharmaceuticals so that they can string our miserable little lives along on pharmaceuticals for the rest of our aging days. There's no need for us to be in the kind of physical condition that we are in. But they put chemtrails in collusion with BP, British Petroleum. They put chemicals in jet fuel, and those chemicals end up getting sprayed in these minute particulates that rain down on our food, on our crops, and in our water. There's lithium in those chemtrails. There's also fluoride and a lot of other heavy metals that are dispersed in the air as chaff, so that the American government can talk to one another militarily without being listened in upon by other foreign countries. They know this stuff is toxic for us, but there's money in toxifying us, and so they work in collusion with the pharmaceutical companies with these backdoor deals, changing the laws and making everything favorable for these guys, but not favorable for the humans whatsoever. Humans are just commerce to these people, and they're also meat to these people. They not only kill and eat us, they sell our dead bodies on a meat market of their own kind that goes passing by here every 50 years. And I got that straight from a CIA agent. And,
I know that you say that you have contact with the Pleiadians. How often do they talk to you, and what else do they say about the current situation in the United States right now? We're in a recession. There's talk about China surpassing us in the economy. I'm curious what the Pleiadians have to say about all of those issues, too.
They are working towards the peace of this planet and towards towards eradicating us of our draconian reptilian infestation. China actually fired an EMP weapon in the Pacific Ocean last night. Its target was an American warship full of fighter planes, and it was on its way towards China and up to absolutely no good whatsoever. So China disabled the ship with an EMP weapon. We spent most of the night last night evacuating everybody that was on that ship off because it was completely dead. No electronics whatsoever survived the EMP pulse.
Wow, well, it sounds like you've had your hands full these days. You've been very busy, and the Pleiadians definitely sound like they have an interesting analysis on what's going on here in the United States and across the world. Colleen Thomas, a home health administrator, I really appreciate your time with us. Thank you so much.
Josh, really, this is pretty bizarre because at the highest level, even from NORAD and NORTHCOM, we're hearing not quite sure.
And not only that, Kira, but I'm about to bring you two experts. One of them who says this is absolutely obviously an airplane. The other one who says it's absolutely obviously not. The first thing I want to do, though, let's get back to that video we were just showing, because I want all of you to understand how it's even possible that the words optical illusion could be involved here. It's a little bit of a Rorschach test to understand what people are talking about when they say contrail. Contrail is a condensation trail. If this is an airplane that's traveling through the sky, then instead of it being something that took took off at the ground and is shooting directly upward. What's actually been happening is that airplane has sort of been coming toward you. And over time, the smoke, the vapor that it leaves behind widens out a little bit, broadens out. Our eye thinks broader means lower to the ground. And if you think about how the horizon looks, when you look off to the horizon, it kind of feels like the Earth is flat and things are going down, right? So the idea is, if that other vapor that's wider there is really just farther away, then the plane is just kind of coming toward you, and it's not this thing that's just taken off from the ground. That is what a lot of experts say, that this is an airplane contrail. One of those experts, his name is John Pike. Here he is.
The vehicle at the tip of the contrail is moving far too slowly to be a rocket. Since the contrail is illuminated by the sunset, you're able to see hundreds of miles of it all the way to the horizon. This creates an optical illusion that it was fired out of the ocean a few dozen miles away.
All right, but some other experts are saying absolutely no way. I just now spoke with an MIT professor who studies and teaches these technologies and international security. His name is Ted Postal. Here's what he says.
It certainly appears to be a missile that was shot into the air. The video appears to be tracking the object after what looks like...
Hello, Brenda. How are you?
Hi, Edward. I am doing good. I can't wait to vote on November the 2nd. In 2008, I voted for Obama because I did not like the direction of where our country was going. I thought if I voted for him, things would change, but I guess I was wrong because the United States continues to decline. So I am going to vote for some Republican candidates so they can help stop the Obama agenda.
Brenda, I do agree that the United States is headed in the wrong direction, and that the Obama agenda is not good either, but you need to understand that the two major parties are both working in concert to bring America into total bondage. It is the two-party, one-party system, the left-right paradigm.
What? What are you talking about? The mainstream media tells me that there is a huge difference between Republicans and Democrats.
Yes, Brenda. I realize that the powers that be try to give the average voter an illusion of choice by allowing them to vote for one of two candidates that speak slightly different rhetoric and say the cliché propaganda of their party, but the fact of the matter is ultimately the agenda of the global elite continues, unhindered.
Global elite? What are you? Some sort of conspiracy theorist?
I understand that people are conditioned by the social engineers to call anyone who even slightly implies that there are groups of people within high levels of government, media, finance, and business working towards nefarious ends as a conspiracy theorist, but you cannot deny the fact that no matter which party is in power, little seems to really change. Carroll Quigley said it best. He said, the idea that the two parties should represent opposed ideals and policies, one, perhaps, of the right and the other of the left, is a foolish idea acceptable only to doctrinaire and academic thinkers. Instead, the two parties should be almost identical, so that the American people can throw the rascals out at any election without leading to any profound or extensive shifts in policy.
But that would mean that the television was lying to me.
Yes, Brenda, that is an understatement to say the least. See, I remember when Bush was in power, a lot of people on the left loved to try to insult him as a right-wing fascist, and now that Obama is in power, people on the right call him a radical left-wing socialist, but in reality a more accurate term for both Bush and Obama would be to refer them as corporatists. The left-wingers love to blame big business for all of our problems, while the right-wingers love to blame big government for all our problems, when really it is the merger of both big government and big business, corporatism, that is plaguing our nation and the world. Benito Mussolini once said this: fascism should more appropriately be called corporatism, because it is a merger of state and corporate power.
Okay, you are making some good points, but can we start talking about sports, TV, celebrity gossip, or reality shows now? My head is starting to hurt.
Sure, I tried to keep this short as it seems everyone's attention span is extremely short these days, but let me just recommend a few things for you. Make sure to check out some books and documentaries on the Federal Reserve, the military-industrial complex, globalism, Edward Bernays and public relations propaganda, geopolitics, and the New World Order, but most importantly, try to turn off the TV, and make sure to question everything.
Don't give up, 'cause let's talk about Clayton's favorite story.
Yes.
Lay it on us, man.
All right, listen to this. So, well, this isn't one of my favorite stories. What we have coming up at the end of the hour is, but I think this is funky.
It relates to it, though.
It does, and it's a little offbeat and weird. The United Nations, right? A place where nations come together and have discussions and unite, and they unite under the United Nations. They have now appointed an Earth contact for aliens.
Just in case, right? Just in case we are visited by somebody from another planet or galaxy.
Right.
I love it. Finally, the United Nations is being proactive.
Right.
Okay, they're doing something to prepare because they say they need a plan in place in the event that someone tries to make contact from another world.
But hold on.
What?
When you put it that way, you know, let's say we are visited.
Yes.
First thing people are going to say, well, why weren't we prepared? Why would we have somebody waiting at the door?
Why didn't we have someone that that had an office we could go to?
Well, that's absolutely right. And so she is an outer space liaison, basically. Her name is Maslin Othman. She's an astrophysicist, and she is the person, when they say, take me to your leader,
she's the leader.
She is the leader that will communicate with them. Now, here's the only curious part about this also to me. Do they know that? How are we telling the outer space creatures that get in touch with Maslin Othman?
I don't. I would imagine once they land, somebody calls her.
Yes.
Maslin, you're not going to believe this. They're here. We need to fly you where that is.
Yeah, you thought you were going to have a 3 weeks in Bermuda?
Right.
No, they're here. We need you.
But what does she have in her bag? You know, by the door when she gets the call? What's in that bag?
Reese's Pieces.
Reese's Pieces. Take me to your leader.
That's your bag.
That's my bag.
You keep packed at all times.
Look, you know, this is, I hate when, it really drives me nuts when you have, like, a lot of media outlets will do these UFO stories, and they'll put, like, X-Files music underneath it, because there's so many...
Like we're doing now?
No, we're not.
Oh, we're not. Okay.
No, you have, like, government officials who've gone on the record. In fact, Ronald Reagan himself went to the United Nations and spoke and talked about being visited by aliens in front of the United Nations.
Wanting a plan.
Wanting a plan.
Right, and they say that they have actually now come up with this coordinated response. I mean, it does stand to reason. Here's her rationale. She says that hundreds of new planets have been discovered. So there's just increasing the likelihood that life will be on one of those planets.
And the Vatican also says the same thing. So at the end of this hour, 8:50, set your clocks. We're going to be talking about it more coming up.
Take a look at these pictures. This UFO that you see right there was witnessed by hundreds of people back in 2006. This was over Chicago's O'Hare Airport. Pilots witnessed it, military officials witnessed it, and the FAA admits it was on their radar. The author, who has spent 10 years interviewing government officials who saw this strange sighting, is here to tell us about it next.
All right, here it is, my favorite segment of the morning. Real or just a hoax? The question comes up whenever UFOs are mentioned, but now some new support that may surprise you. Tomorrow, former military personnel are speaking out for the first time on camera about their personal experiences with UFOs in Washington, D.C. Investigative journalist Leslie Kane has been studying this for years. She's the author of the new book, UFOs, Generals, Pilots, and Government Officials Go on the Record. She's here to talk about it. Leslie, great to see you this morning.
Great to see you, Clayton.
So you spent 10 years working on this book. You have 5 different military generals that you've interviewed in this book. How did you manage to pull all this together?
Well, I mean, as you said, I've spent a long time working on it. I've published lots of stories on it in mainstream media, and over the years I started to reach out to some of these very high-level contacts, which you said are generals and military people from around the world, government officials who have investigated this, and just made it a point to get the most official and the highest level data that I could about the subject.
What I love about your book is you don't put any stories in the book that could be argued with. You call yourself a UFO skeptic. So none of the stories in the book, you say, can be argued with.
I agree with you. I mean, the evidence is irrefutable for some kind of physical phenomenon, and it's well documented in the book through multiple witnesses, radar, ground traces that are left by things that land,
and airline pilots,
right.
Officials, and so forth. Let's start with one, actually. This was at Chicago O'Hare Airport in 2006. This was witnessed by dozens of people there at O'Hare, and pilots as well. Tell us what happened at this one that ended up shocking a lot of people.
Absolutely. There was a disc that was hovering right over the United Airlines terminal. A round, metallic-looking disc that lots of people saw, as you said. It hovered there for maybe 5 minutes minimum and suddenly shot straight up through the clouds above it. There was a cloud bank above it and left this absolutely crisp hole in the clouds. People underneath could look up and see the blue through the cloud. So that's basically what happened. A lot of people saw it. None of the witnesses would go on the record because they're worried about ridicule, unfortunately.
Yeah, the pilots and people were worried about losing their job as well. Some other people in Phoenix were worried about losing their jobs for going on the record about the Phoenix Lights. This is one of the most famous UFO encounters ever. And take a look at this video. Thousands of people witnessed this over Phoenix. In fact, you in the book interviewed the governor of Arizona at the time, Simon.